And I welcome all of you to Online Study for You, and this is a video on the pseudocode problems. In this video we are taking a look at the pseudocode problems that will be very helpful for you to prepare for the Capgemini examination that is approaching very near. So if you haven't started your preparation yet, you can start by watching this video and brushing up your concepts, and you can also buy our premium material so that you will get benefited while preparing and you don't miss out during the examination. So the pattern has been changed, and we can see a lot of competition this year for the placements because of all the COVID-19 situations. So buckle up your seats. We're going to go for a question and answer session on pseudocode. The first question for this video today is, what will be the output of the pseudocode with input as 4? Okay, so this is the pseudocode that is given int sum, and sum is the function which takes an input int num. So if num is not equal to 0, this is pseudocode. Remember, there is a difference between pseudocode and an actual code. In pseudocode, you will write it in the mix of algorithm and code. So there is something called as an algorithm, which is detailed steps. It may be in plain English language, and there is something called as code, which is a program that does the actual thing. But pseudocode is in between the algorithm and code, so that is a mix of these English language explanations and the syntactical program itself. So by pseudo means something like fake. So this is called a pseudocode. That means it is a fake code. That means it is not actually code but looks like code. So that is what this is. So int sum is a function which takes int num. So if num is not equal to 0, return num plus num into sum of num minus 1, else return num. So this is the recursive function that we have been given in pseudocode format. The output will be option A 44, option B 15, option C 64, and option D 26. So if you want to solve this, you can stop now and start solving. I'm going to go ahead and explain the answer. So let me just hide these options for a bit so that we can get a little space to solve. And the input that they've given is this input will be 4. Initially, the value of num will be 4. That is given. Now, let us understand the code. Remember, this is a recursive code, so you need to understand, or you need to be comfortable with recursion in order to solve this. We have clearly covered this in our C programming course, and this will be very similar to the C programming recursion. Recursion is a concept. Now, so initially your num will be passed here. That is the value of num here will be 4. Okay, so since it is recursive, we will try to make it as different function called try to understand. So initially, let us make num as 4. So if num is not equal to 0, then you have to return this, else you just have to return num. So since 4 is not equal to 0, this condition becomes true. This condition becomes true, and what happens is it will return num plus num into sum of num minus 1. That is, it will return 4 plus 4 into sum of num minus 1. That is, num minus 1 is 3. So this will be multiplied with whatever the sum of 3 you will get as answer. So what we will do is we will write 4 plus 4 into sum of 3. Okay, so we'll just erase this. So sum of 3 means this function will be again called, but with the value 3. So with the value 3, another time this function is called. Now the value of num will be 3, and again it will be checked. So since num is not equal to 0, that is, the value of 3 is not equal to 0, in the second condition also this becomes true. And now what we are going to return is we are going to say 3 plus 3 into sum of num minus 1 is 2. So essentially what we are returning here is 3 plus 3 into sum of 2. Okay, so again we are calling function with the parameter 2 here. So in the new function, the value of num gets to 2, that is the value of num becomes 2 here. Let us just erase this. Now what happens is, again 2 is not equal to 0, this condition becomes true. So what will be returned? This will not be executed, but this will be executed. Num plus, so 2 plus 2 into sum of 1. Again we are calling this function. If you are confused, we'll write it again like this. So here we are passing 2. Now we'll be passing 1. My bad. So we are passing 2 here and we are passing 1 here. Okay, so now here again the value of num becomes 1. Still for the third time this will be true because 1 is not equal to 0. So what you're going to return? You're going to return 1 plus 1 into sum of 0. Again you're going to call with sum of 0 here. Now the value of num will get set to 0. Now when you come here, the condition becomes false because the value of num is 0, which is equal to 0. Hence this condition becomes false. It comes here and it just returns sum. So when it returns sum, what happens is it is going to return the value of it is going to return the value of num. So it is going to return num, that is 0 itself. So it is going to return 0 here. That means this becomes 1 plus 1 into sum of 0. The value of sum of 0 is 0, that is returned here. So 1 into 0 will become 0. So that is 1 plus 0, which is equal to 1. So this will return 1 back here. Okay. So now again here what will happen? Here what will happen is we had 2 plus 2 into sum of 1. Sum of 1 is 1, that was returned by the previous one. So we are going to get 2 plus 2, that is nothing but 4. So this 4 gets returned here. Okay, so when this 4 gets returned here, what we're going to have is 3 plus 3 into this 4, that is sum of 2. So 3 plus 4 into 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is nothing but 15. So 15 will get returned here as the value of sum of 3. Now again this will be computed. Again this will be computed as 4 plus 4 into sum of 3 is nothing but 15. So that is nothing but 4 plus 15 into 4 times you're going to get 60. So 60 plus 4, 64 will be the final value of num that will be returned as 64. Okay, so here it will come and return 64 finally. Now if you take a look at the options, let me just erase these so that you can see the options. So if you see the options, option A is 44, B is 15, C is 64, that is exactly our answer, and D is 26. So we have gone through the steps of recursion to get the answer as 64. We cannot really execute this as code because it's just a pseudo code. So if you're interested, you can type this out into a code, you can make a function for this and you can try out the answer. Okay, but for this video the answer will be option C, 64. So now let us go to the next question, that is the second question of this video. So the second question will be, what will be the output of the pseudo code for input A equal to 2 and B equal to 4. So this is the pseudo code, int fun, int A, int B. So it is taking two arguments, int n is equal to 0. If B is less than 1, then return n. Else return fun of A plus B plus 2, comma B minus 2. This is also recursive. So option A is 0, option B is 22, option C is 58, and option D is 9. Okay, let us keep the options here. We can work out here. So what happens first is, initially we have been given that A will be equal to 2 and our value of b will be equal to 4. So in the first function call that we are going to have, what will be passed here? 2 and 4 are passed. Now here what we have n, we are creating n which is equal to 0, and if b is less than 1, what is the value of b here? 4. So since this is false, this condition is false, we are going to return function of a plus b plus 2 comma b minus 2. Okay, so what we are doing is we are calling the function again, and whatever the value that function call is going to return us, that we are going to return here. Okay, so what we are going to return is, we are going to return function of a plus b plus 2 and b minus 2. Okay, so we are calling this with, what is the value of a here? A plus b plus 2 is the value of a, that is 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 2 is 8 is the value of a, and b minus 2, that is 4 minus 2, 2 is the value of b here in this new function call. So again we are creating n is equal to 0 here. If b is less than 1, return n. So b is not less than n 1, so this will be returned again. So this condition becomes false again, this will be returned again. So what we are returning here, the return is not yet calculated, we will calculate it. So we are returning again a plus b plus 2 and b minus 2, that is a plus b plus 2 is nothing but 8 plus 2 plus 2, that is a plus 2 is 10, 10 plus 2 is 12, comma b minus 2, that is 2 minus 2 is nothing but 0. So we are essentially calling this with 12 comma 0, that is our next function call. So in this function call, again we are creating n is equal to 0. If b is less than 1, this time this becomes true because the value of b here is 0. This is b and this is a. So it is 0, and hence this condition becomes true. So this will not be executed, but this will be executed, and hence it says return n. So return n, the value of n is returned here. So what is the value of n that is returned? The value of n is 0, that was returned here. So here we have, so this will be returning to here. So return function of 12,6, right? So this value was 0, that was returned. So this value itself will be returned back again. Again this 0 will be returned. Now this is 0 is the value of this whole thing. So what we have actually is return this. So what is the value of this? This is 0. So at the end we will get 0 as the answer, that is returned here. So our answer is option A, 0. Okay, it doesn't matter what is the value of a and b, when the value of b becomes less than 1, every time we are going to pass this as the answer. Okay, so option A, 0 is the correct answer for this question. Let us move on to the third question, that is, what will be the output of the following pseudo code? So here is the pseudo code, integer I comma j comma sum. You can see here in this previous code, to declare an integer we had used just int a, that is like C program. This is very similar to C programming, but here we have used integer I and j. So in different style of pseudo code it differs, but you must be able to understand this I is integer variable, just like int a or int I. So set sum is equal to 0, for I is equal to 0 to 5, for j is equal to 0 to 2, sum is equal to I into j. So nested loops, end for, that is you're ending this for here. In your normal programming you end there with bracket, right? So here also, here they are using end for to end this for loop. So print sum. So at the end here you are printing the value of sum to see what it is. What will be printed? Option A is 27, option B is 10, option C is 15, and option D is 33. Now let us try to see. So initially what we have is I, j and sum. Okay, initially the value of sum is set to 0, because here set sum to 0. So for I value ranging from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. J value ranging from 0, 1 and 2, that is 0 to 2, so this is 0 to 5. You are going to say sum is equal to I into j. So for each of these values you are going to say sum is equal to I into j. Okay, so how do you solve this? This is just like something like a matrix program, right? You are a two-dimensional array program where you're taking input and output of a two-dimensional array. But this is actually very simple. Why? Because there is a trick involved here. If you look clearly, you are going to understand one thing here. Okay, so I'll tell you how a normal student will do. If you don't observe this properly, what you will do is, okay, first you will say, okay, the I value is 0 and j value is also 0. Now sum is equal to I into j, 0 into 0. So sum becomes 0. Next j will increase to 1. So I is 0, j is 1. So 0 into 1 again 0, j is increasing to 2, again j is 0. Then I becomes 1, again j becomes 0, 1 and 2. Then I becomes 2, j becomes again 0, 1 and 2. So you're going to do so many steps. But the mistake is, if you see here, if it was sum is equal to sum plus I into j, if it was this statement that was here, you need to do this step. But here what you have is just sum is equal to I into j. So how many number of times if you do multiplication, the value of sum that is going to be printed here is the last value that was calculated. What is the last value that will be calculated? The last value will be calculated when the value of I is 5 and the value of j is 2. So that time this will be calculated as sum is equal to 5 into 2. That is nothing but the value of sum will be 10. And afterwards, when the value of I becomes 6, this condition will fail and you will go and print this sum. So the output, that is the answer, will be option B, 10. Okay, so you don't need to calculate every single move for this question. If you notice that there is no plus here. Okay, so the answer for this question is option B, 10. So that is how you apply smartness in solving these pseudocode questions. So if you do this, you can solve these questions very easily. We will go on to the fourth question now. So what will be the output of the pseudocode with n is equal to 2? So with n is equal to 2, what will be the output? So integer fun integer n. So this is a function, see, which takes an integer n as an input and returns an integer. This is the return type, something like C programming function declaration type. If n is equal to 4, see, in some pseudocode they will say if n is equal to 4. Okay, in some they will write it like this. So you must be comfortable with all of these. If n is equal to 4, return n, else return 2 into fun of n plus 1. So this is again the recursive call. So recursive questions are very common here. Option A is 16, option B is 2, option C is 6, option D is 4. This is simple. So from starting to 2 up till 4, this will be recursive. Okay, so in the initial function call, I'll take this. In the initial function call, I'll pass 2 as the value of n. So if the value of n is equal to 4, you will return n. So initially, what is the integer n value? That is 2. So this condition becomes false because n is not equal to 4. So this will be returned. So what you are going to return is 2 into function of n plus 1. This is what you are going to return here, whatever the value comes here. Okay, so next again you're calling this as f of n plus 1. That is f of n plus 1 is 2 plus 1, that is 3. So you're calling this function again with value 3. So here again, so first time this condition became false. Now also 3 is not equal to 4. The value of n is 3. So again this condition became false here. So you're going to return, what you're going to return here? So here you are going to return 2 into f of n plus 1. That is, again you are calling this with the value n plus 1. The value of n was 3. Now you are calling it with 4. Okay. So you are going to return this value. We'll see that. So you're going to return this value here. So now here what you're going to do? Here 4 is equal to 4 because now the value became 4 because that is what you're passing. 4 is equal to 4. Now the condition becomes true. This will sorry, my bad. This will not be executed. This will not be executed. This will be executed. So here what you're returning is return n. So what is the value of n? The value is 4. So what you're doing is you're returning the value 4 here. So if you return the value 4 here, that is nothing but 2 into f of n plus 1. The value of f of 1 just became 4. That is 4 into 2, which is equal to 6. So you are returning 6 here. So if you return 6 here, 2 into 6. So 6 into 2 is nothing but 12. This 12 will be returned here. My bad, I just realized my mistake. This is not 12. Don't do this mistake ever. You can do this silly mistake. Why? Because 4 into 2 is 8. Okay. I am feeling very embarrassed here. So 8 will be passed here. So here also this value will be nothing but 8. So 8 into 2 is nothing but 16. 16 will be the output that you are passing here. I just realized it because there was no option of 12. If somebody had given this option as 12, I would have ticked it. That would get me a negative mark, or this question would have been wrong. This was a simple mistake. Don't do such kind of mistakes in your examination. Be very, very careful. Okay. So you should learn from others' mistake. You should learn from my mistake. So don't make these silly mistakes. So the answer that we are going to get, the output we are going to get is 16. That is option A. 16 is the correct answer. So this is how you have to draw things and solve these recursion problems. Okay. So many students get scared whenever they see recursion problems, but you should get used to it. Pseudocode problems will be consisting many recursion problems. We'll go to the fifth question. What is the output of the pseudocode for A is equal to 5 and B is equal to 2? So again, this is a recursive problem. You can just tell it by looking at here. So integer for fun. So this function will return integer. So it will take two numbers A and B. There should be bracket here. If A equals 0, then return B. Else return function of A minus 1 comma 2 into A minus B. So the answers that they have given us, that the options are 4, 8, 3 and 1. Let us take a look. So the first initial function call, what is going to happen is we are passing here, what we are passing, the value as 5 comma 2 is the value that we are passing. So A is 5, B is 2. Again, inside what is there, if A is equal to 0, the value of A is not equal to 0 because A is 5. So this condition becomes false. So this will become true. So what you will return is you will return f of A minus 1. That is A minus 1. The value of A is 5. So A minus 1 is 4, comma 2 into A minus B. So 2 into A is 5. 2 into 5, that is 10. 10 minus B is 10 minus 2 is 8. So you are passing f of 4 comma 8 here. Okay. So whenever you pass 4 comma 8 in this function call, again it will be checked. If A is equal to 0, it is not. So this condition becomes false. Again you are going to pass f of A minus 1, that is 3. And 2 into A minus B, that is 4 into 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. So you're essentially passing f of 3 comma 0 to the next function call. So in this next function call, again you are going to check if the value of a equals 0. If does not equal 0, the condition becomes false. So what you are going to essentially pass here is f of a minus 1, that is 2 comma 2 into a. So what is the value of 2 into a? 2 into a is nothing but 3 into 2 minus 0, because the value of v is 0. So 6 is what you're passing again to the next one. So in this next one, what you're passing is the value 2 comma 6. So here we are passing 3 comma 0. So in this 2 comma 6, again we're checking if a equals 0. It is false because the value of a is still 2. So we'll go further. So we'll return f of a minus 1, that is 1 comma 2 into a. So 2 into 6. So 2 into 2 minus 6 here. So 2 into 2 is 4. 4 minus 6 is nothing but minus 2. So you are returning 1 comma minus 2 here. Again here you are going to check if a equals 0. Still it is not equal to 0. The condition becomes false because the value of a is 1. Now what you are going to return is you are going to return f of a minus 1. Now the value becomes 0. Here again what you are going to return here 2 into 1 minus is minus of minus, this is minus 2, so this becomes plus. So 2 into 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. That is what you are passing here, 0 comma 4. Now if you pass 0 comma 4 but the value of a is 0, this condition becomes true. Now what happens is this will be executed. So you are going to return b. So return b is what you are going to return. The value of b is nothing but 4. So 4 is returned here. Okay, so this 4 is again returned back here, and this 4 is again returned back here, this 4 is returned back here, this 4 is returned back here, and this 4 is ultimately returned. Okay, so the answer is option A, 4. So there were these many function calls, but again it doesn't matter because at the end the last value of b was totally returned with a flow. So in the end you got 4 as the answer. That is option A is the 4. So we have come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get a notification. You can start preparing for your Capgemini examination, and we have a Capgemini pack that you can purchase and start reading for your pseudocode test. Okay, because that is the first thing that you're going to face in this 2020 exam for the 2021 batch. So thank you guys again. So thank you for watching Online Study for You. Keep watching our videos.